Good day, friends. New project today. It's Friday. Woke up, started, you know, and I have is it a vintage? I don't. It's a 1979 Fender Stratocaster, all black, maple neck, beautiful looking guitar. Big headstock. We love those. I recently had one of these in. Well, I had one in a few months ago. It was a 1977 with a big headstock. I refretted it, and this, basically pretty similar circumstances, is going to need a refret. The owner has decided he's going to go for a half refret. Now the frets from 11 downwards to this one, oh, they've had it. The indentations in there, the depth of some of those indentations is, we cannot do a level on that. I'm not going to zoom in, take my word for it. I'll show you, you'll see more of that shortly. Now the problem with this is, I do believe this guitar has already been refretted 15 odd years ago. I don't know if the frets went in top down or sideways, so it's my job to find that out. The nut will be coming out. I'll be replacing that with a new bone nut, and any electrics that need doing, sorting out, I will sort out. That seems a bit loose. There, that's loose, that's tight. I will have it plugged in, we'll have a listen to it, make sure we'll check all the electrics. I know the guy that owns this guitar does not use a tremolo, so we're going to have that hard-tailed, blocked off. Pickups are all, I imagine, are all fine. So what I really need to do with this is, the main thing on this is going to be removing the frets. The problem with a lacquered fingerboard like this is, normally if you're removing lacquered fingerboard and you get a chip in, you got to have the whole guitar or the whole neck re-lacquered. And though that is not uber expensive, it's still got to be paid for, and I don't do paint and lacquer here. I take all my paint and lacquer work to Clive Eastwood over at Beaver Guitars, which I not only have to pay him, there is a fuel cost there back. It's 30 odd miles away, 33 miles away I believe, Grantham from here. So it costs roughly 15 quid in fuel as well, there back, maybe a bit more than that. So you've always got to cost that into it. So what I'm going to try and do is, I'm going to try and remove these frets without causing any chipping and without damaging any, without damaging any of the lacquer. The nut, I'm going to have to basically saw that in half and crush that in on itself, because to knock that out you're going to bring lacquer off anyway. Just show you that. It's quite a high nut with deep grooves. I will be replacing that with, I could go with a bone nut, or I could go with the modern Fender Cyclovac nuts. Let me just see, I've got some in stock. I always keep these in stock. I have a pack of bone nuts there, and I have a pack of Fender, well I've got 3 left. Fender, this is a man-made substance Cyclovac, they're complete blanks. It depends all on the width of the slot, because this is quite narrow Cyclovac, where my bone is probably a little bit wider, but we will see once we get the old nuts out. Certain things I've not done on this guitar. I've not checked the radius of the fingerboard. It looks to be, I'm hoping it's going to be like 9.5. Should be 9.5, but you never know. If it's a vintage, it's going to be 7.25. Well, it's 9.5 in places. No, it ain't. Well, let's just have a quick look. Let's go with 7.25. I think it might well be 7.25. Fret wire I'm going to use is, I'm going to get the closest match to what's in there. It's not 7.25. Definitely not 7.25. Though it is 7.25 down the base end. Very, very strange. Okay. I would say the guy that did the refret on this flattened it out at the top end, unless it's a compound radius. That's a compound radius. That is very, very interesting. It looks to be a compound radius. I'll have to go and do some research on this. That makes things awkward. If it's compound, it's going from a 7.25 to a... Now, a compound radius does make sense. Maybe a 10. Yeah, looks like a 10. Just check with a 12. I will have to go and do some research on this. But end of the day, it's 12 at this end. That does alter things, it being a compound radius. Now, That doesn't really make the job much more difficult, because the compound radius, all I do is I'll level that off when I get the new frets in there, level it with a flat beam. But really what I have to do with this is, the lacquer job on this has lines going that way quite a lot, so it was not completely sanded properly when he relacquered this. The guy relacquered this. It doesn't alter the way it plays. It means the lacquer on top is still smooth. You just see the lines in there. So I've not got to be too picky when it comes to sorting this out. End of the day, it's all about this playing surface, and we need to make sure the playing surface is smooth and level. I would much rather not alter the cosmetics of this or make it any worse than it is right now. Not that it is bad now, it looks absolutely fine. I shall give you a quick close-up on the frets as they are, but like I say, these half need replacing, so I'm going to give them a measure. I already know they're 2.4 wide, so chances are I'm going to go with the same fret wire. I'll probably go with Hosco, or Syntoms is pretty good, because Syntoms you get a nice high one, 1.4 mil. I will measure these frets properly once I've got one out, which will make things a lot easier for me. But what I'm recommending for this is, if the frets are going to come out easy and aren't going to cause any damage to the fingerboard or the lacquer, I will say let's give it half a refret, which will also entail me completely levelling, recrowning all of the frets, polishing up all of the frets. So it's a complete, basically it's a complete fret. It's more like a complete fret job, but without having these 10 or 11 done as well. So there will be a reduction in price compared to the price of a complete refret. Well, I've already talked about this with the owner, so we more or less know where we are going. So all it remains for me to do right now is for me to whip off the strings, because the neck and the truss rod work. All I need to do is whip off the strings, get some heat in one of the frets, remove one and see where we stand. If I'm happy that they're going to come out easy, we're not going to cause any damage. I imagine these are going to come out top side. I imagine they're going to be the last lot we'll put in and just pressed in. So I imagine they're going to come out just by pulling them up. That is the way I'm going to remove the first one. Once I'm happy that they're going to come out pretty well and we're not going to cause any damage to the lacquer or anything, I'm going to go and order some fret wire, which is going to be about 15 quid. The owner knows about this. We've already priced up what it's going to cost him. So I will crack on. I'll get the strings removed, I will remove a fret, and I'll come back and let you know how that goes. Okay, so by some great stroke of fortune, I won't call it luck, but the guy who recommended the owner of this guitar to me, Derek, has actually been round today. He's been and been to look at a pedal that I was selling, and he's bought the pedal. But he recommended the owner of this guitar, he recommended to the owner of this guitar that he should get a complete refret, and I am now inclined to agree. I removed 3 frets, and they came out relatively cleanly, but if you look on the fingerboard, there's a lot of dirt in there. That's from under the fret where the lacquer is. But looking at the frets, there is wear all the way down, even to the M1, and there's some flattening out on here. So I'm now going to recommend that we actually go for a complete refret on this guitar. We should be able to get away with not having to re-lacquer everything, because if I take my time and I'm really careful, we're not going to scrape into the old lacquer on there. But what I do recommend is, let me just move this out of the way, where we have those lines there, where the frets have been removed, dark lines, I'm going to get some white spirit in there, clean them all out, clean the slots. But what I'm going to recommend is we go with a very slightly wider fret. So where these are 2.4 mil, I'm going to recommend 2.6 millimeters wide. We will go with a regular 1.3 millimeter height, and I will level them to recommended. One thing I have noticed with this guitar, and I didn't know this when it came in, but this does have a compound radius fingerboard, and it's a very, very strange one. And the good thing about it is Derek Crane was here with me when I checked this neck, and he will agree that, and he will speak to you anyway, but we are 7¼ inch radius at the nut end and a 12-inch radius at the flat end. That makes the job a little bit more awkward for me, because I can't use a radius block to level the frets, so I'm going to have to do it using a level beam, which is fine. You know, it's not something I've not done before, but it was something I wasn't expecting. Now, we were looking at re-lacquering the fingerboard after the fret job. We're talking a lot of money. It's going to be an expensive job. You're going to be looking at in excess of about 255 quid all done. That's a complete refret done. and a complete re-lacquer of the fingerboard with a new nut cut, new nut installed. If we don't have to do the lacquer, and we're looking at around, I would say £200 should cover everything. It is a lot of money, but consider you're going to be paying £150 ish for a half a refret. You might as well go the extra 50 quid and get the lot done, because Derek's had a look at these frets, so have I, and there's wear, they're flattening out here. I don't see the point of having half a refret and levelling all the new frets down to these frets here, because we're going to have to re-crown these anyway, and it means we're going to get the frets too low. Well, not too low, but they're going to be low enough where you're never going to get any, you're not going to alter them later on. You're going to have to just have a complete refret again. If we refret the lot now, you're going to get at least one complete fret level after, because I'm going to go with high fret wire. It means somewhere down the line, 15-20 years, you're going to be able to still level these frets again. So in a way, you're getting like 2 refrets worth. So I would imagine for that, for the price of 1 refret, you're going to get at least 25 years of frets, maybe even longer. It depends how heavy a player you are. But I will recommend we go with a heavy fret wire, which I always use 18% nickel silver. It's a hard lasting, hard wearing fret wire. Now, other problems we have on this, getting these frets out, for instance, I did start using my adapted soldering iron, which has a groove slotted in there, so I can heat it up and go over frets. But the thing is, it's starting to burn the lacquer, so I cannot use heat to get the old frets out, so I'm having to be uber careful and just take them out just using my fret pulling pincers, which are great. I mean, don't get me wrong, great tool, nice and flat, get under there, but I have to be very, very careful so as not to get any chipping. But that is going to be my recommendation. There's no other way we could really do this. To make it cost effective, we might as well just go for a full refret. Now, I do understand and appreciate that is more expensive and it's more money than you wanted to spend, but you know, end of the day, let's look to see what is cost effective and what it's worth in the future. If we can get away without having to re-lacquer the board, so be it. But even if we have to re-lacquer the board and the neck itself, you know, it's 255 quid. 255 quid over 25 years is £10 a year. And it's a lot to pay out, I do know that. But, you know, it is worth it in the long run. Now, I'm going to do my best to make it so we don't have to re-lacquer the neck and the board. And I'm sure I can do that. And the good thing about it is when it's resprayed, we don't have to leave it sat 2 or 3 weeks for the lacquer to cure. If we have resprayed, you're not going to use a guitar for about a month from today, because the lacquering is going to take it's going to take 3 weeks to cure on the neck of the fingerboard. So that is my recommendation, that we go for a full and complete refret, and I do my best to make it so that we don't have to re-lacquer anything. You know, I don't see any other way we can do this job and make the guitar, you know, as good as it ought to be. It's a 1979, the guitar, it's a vintage guitar, it's a 1979. I imagine it's worth quite a lot of money, you know, so it's worth spending. Even if it's 255 quid, it's worth spending, because you're going to get 25 years out of this guitar before the frets need looking at again, I would imagine. Say at least 15 years anyway. And there's going to be enough material on the refret job to do a fret level later on. So that is my recommendation, whether it be £200 or thereabouts, or £255 if it has to be lacquered, you know. But the ball is in your court. Let me know what you want to do. But it's going to have to be refretted now anyway. It's not cost effective me doing half a refret on this. I will do it if you insist, and the price will be 150 quid, you know. And but you might as well spend the extra 50, get a complete refret, and that's it. So I'll send you this video. You can watch the video and we'll take it from there.